It's not a beer. Yeah.
Probably an energy drink, but.
It's actually my watermelon juice.
Yeah, make the establishing shot in Shane, think.
That's gonna be the thumbnail now.
There we go, yeah, exactly.
On the YouTube video.
Okay, we're 7:00. We like this?
No.
Okay.
The athletic is.
Everybody, it's 7:00. Let's dive in. I am opening this meeting of the Design Review Board and Historic Preservation Commission of the Village of New Paltz. It's May 11th, 2026, 7 p.m. exactly. Our first order of business is approval of minutes. Did anybody see anything that needed amendment?
That's good. Look, it's me.
Okay, is there a motion?
That's a move.
Oh, I should mention, sir, did you end up getting Stillman's name? Let's do that, because the minutes need the. I leave this out. Okay. Thomas, your name that we didn't catch at the last meeting, but we're good. So let's call that a friendly amendment to the minutes, and otherwise motion to approve. So Stephen moves. Camilla second, all those in favor, so 4 unanimous. Tom, please come on up and let's resume our discussion. Thanks for coming out on another reasonably beautiful evening.
Yeah.
And thanks for the extra effort to just do some refinements.
Sure.
I thought it might be helpful. We have a missing member, but he sent some comments. And maybe we can just start with those, see what you guys think, see what we all think. He says, I'm not able to attend the meeting tomorrow, making a few suggestions. He prefers board and batten, but horizontal is also appealing. So that's number one. Number two, lowering the center front facade really looks much better. It would be better if the lower 2 sections on each side would be equal in length. This would be bring balance to the center of the building.
It'd be a little tough to do. My only comment on that is that it might be a little tough to do because of the existing building that's already structured that way. If it was a new building, then certainly we'd be able to do anything we want.
How asymmetrical are we? Do you know?
Off the top of my head, I don't know. It's not by much. I mean, the size by the deli is a little bit longer.
Yeah.
Very little. I don't know exactly how much.
There may be some visual effect because there's only the one sign on that side.
That may, right, may have something to do with it too.
And the sign should be the same size. This would be bring balance to the center of the building. As the tapered columns work well on the 2 wings, it does not work well in the center section because of the height. Maybe square craftsman style columns for all the columns. Again, we can discuss this. Let me just go through the list. It'd be nice if the signs on the east wing move slightly closer together with equal spaces outside of the signs. Okay. And then the center section siding would be nice if it was consistent. Remove the siding around the door and adjacent window on the east side and keep it the same in the center and the west. So that's a response to the stucco siding versus the board and batten on the right. Keep the siding on the 2 wings the same, either wood or stucco. That's 1 of 5 of us just with comments. So how do you feel about those comments? And then I think we'll turn it over to my colleagues.
Well, the columns we're open to. I mean, that we can do more of a square column, like brought a cut sheet with various different types.
Okay.
So I think we're open, right, Tom?
Yeah,
Column
absolutely.
style, you know.
We had even discussed possibly making them into,
Right,
straight.
so it's
Maybe a little
square
more,
column would be
No
fine.
tapered,
Correct.
any assemblies around. Colleagues, how do we feel about that general suggestion? So George was pointing out that the taller columns kind of lose their appeal. I think maybe I'm in agreement.
Yeah, yeah, I could see that. I mean, although it looks like in the center columns of the capital, like the top of the column is less wide than the top of the columns. Maybe because it's continuing that same angles.
Yeah, that's,
So maybe
Yeah,
if you match that same width, then it wouldn't look as kind of spindly at the top, because I kind of like the tapered columns, so maybe instead of moving away in an adjustment to that, I don't know, either way, I don't feel that strongly, but that's just something I'm noticing. And, that's probably just a function of the rendering, but you know what I mean? I mean, if the column, that the capital width was matched in the middle columns, maybe it wouldn't look as awkward, but,
Proportion.
yeah,
They're probably the same height or close, but there's just more vertical.
yeah, you're just getting more tapers.
yeah, exactly, just the taper just continues to like
Right.
exactly, to
Right,
west
start
side
out
point,
the
so.
same, keep going, so.
Cause I think the taper is kind of nice, I don't know, so maybe if that one adjustment might fix that, I don't know, I mean.
Well, I think one of his comments was, regarding more of the center column, so maybe we can keep the tapered ones on the ends and maybe go with square in the center.
Yeah.
I mean,
Would there be any chance of continuing that stonework for those 3 columns? Because that's a to me, a very attractive feature. On the center section, you've got those nice stone columns.
right, so we have the stone columns on either end.
Yeah,
So he's asking, would you do?
I know for all 3, I understand. I kind of like that it breaks up. You have the 4 columns on the outer edge,
Mhm.
right? And then those in the center kind of match the ones on the left and right of it.
Mhm.
So
You know,
you're tending to kind of keep them more or less as is.
Yeah, I also think it might be a little.
Yeah, because those also have the,
As well.
yeah, the ones on the corners also have the lighting.
Correct.
Right.
You know what I mean? It's sconce lighting, so I don't know how it would. If we did them all stone. And it might be too heavy of a.
Do you know how you see things?
Are the columns purely decorative or?
No, those are gonna be structural to hold up the building. Right.
I just think, I don't know if, on the left-hand side, it looks like the column is kind of dissecting the window there, is.
all the way on all the way on the left. Yeah, they're also set back though, also.
Oh, there's a lighting effect, yeah.
Right,
There's about 6 feet of sidewalk in between.
right in between, which would help minimize that because, you won't be always seeing it from the other, if it was right up against or close to the building.
And also like Lee, excuse me, and also like Leah pointed out, it's not new construction. We're kind
Right.
of working with the openings and stuff that we have there without changing the footprint, without changing the structure, without, just a facelift.
Right.
Without going crazy.
And what the size of the storefront windows, would they change at all, or would they be kind of comparable?
Oh,
to
they're
what's-
different here,
Yeah.
yeah, we're changing them quite a bit, actually, we're reducing the amount of the glass. Correct. Overall.
Affect the businesses in any way? Adversely?
No.
As
They'll
much
still
space?
have plenty of glass, it's
Yeah.
just not, it's gonna be configured differently.
It doesn't have that showroom effect from like floor to ceiling, all
Right.
windows and
Right.
I think this is a lot more,
It was once a supermarket, right?
It was.
It's kind of got that DNA.
Right.
Stephen, how do you feel about columns?
I'm okay either way with the columns. I do agree with George about the siding on the wings being either stucco or wood.
Yeah.
But the columns, I think they're okay, either way.
Camilla, do you have strong feelings?
No, I mean,
Do you think
I
there's,
like the tapered columns too.
yeah, I
especially
do
on
too.
the
There,
both ends of the.
do you think there's any chance that there's a column that tapers a little less, still in the same family, but maybe has a little more mass?
I'm sure we can find something on that sheet, or something similar, maybe in a different company.
Shane, you said spindly, I think.
No, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, I mean, I don't know, just because they seem so much narrower at the top
Because they're taller,
than the other columns, yeah, but, I mean, if you could match the width at the top, I mean, with that height, it's probably gonna have to be custom, right? I mean, you're probably gonna have like assemble it out of the AZAC board or whatever.
Well,
Either
these
way,
you
right?
can order.
Oh, so those are made to order.
Yeah, those
Oh,
are.
interesting.
okay.
I mean,
Oh, so you can specify heights?
Yeah, we can.
Oh, that would be great. That may solve the problem right there.
yeah, so then I think we're just harping on, you know, maybe
Just
like
a little wider capital at the top.
yeah, just something that's shown in the rendering that, I mean, I think in reality with the width of the columns as they are, it will probably have to be wider than whatever's shown at the top of those anyway. I mean, it's kind of hard to tell what the width of that is, but yeah, I mean, I think that's an easy remedy, just make them a little bit wider at the top. Cause I do like the taper.
We also may have to see when we go to like investigating in regards to ordering the material. In order to factor in that taper at the top, how big of a base the column has to be.
Right.
Because if it goes 14, 16 feet up.
If it's too close, it's gonna look wrong.
Yeah, you're gonna have like a 4x4 base when the other one
Right.
is 2x2.
Right.
So these in the center may have to be straight columns.
Yeah.
And then we can keep the taper look on the side for
Well, I
everybody.
don't think the straight column would look better in
Yeah.
the center.
And then we can always decorate the edges, you know, what I mean, as well, we can,
Yeah.
as opposed to just being plain, yeah, correct, correct.
Yeah. I mean, I do think the columns in the center could be different, because it's, you know, they're already different in height and, you know, they're kind of standalone as it is. As long as they're not like wildly different, I think it's okay to, you know, to have them be different than the ones on the sides. Right.
And do we have the other photo by chance, with the siding going horizontal as opposed to?
Oh, yes, so.
This was,
Section, the middle section.
There's,
Yes, yeah.
in the street in the middle, yeah.
I think straight columns would be quite fine there, do you? Yeah, maybe preferable to something that gets a little spindly.
Yeah.
Are you equally open to clapboard style versus board and batten? Like, if you have a favorite?
I would, this would be my first preference, the second would be the board and batten, and I do, yeah, requested that material, that aluminum wood grain material. This would be the material itself, the 6-inch size, and the finish as well. If you wanted to see that. You had requested that last time, so I was able from the distributor to get that sample.
And is that pretty much their J channel?
Yeah, there's the J channel.
He's not.
So,
But I think this.
So this is your preference, having the clapboard?
Yes, I like that. I mean, sometimes the picture doesn't do it justice. I think the material, if you see it,
I think you're right. I think in reality, I think the clapboard will probably look better than the board bed.
Yeah.
Whereas in the rendering, the board bed might look a little bit better,
but in person, yeah, this
In person,
material
it's-
is,
yeah.
you know, it's all high grade aluminum, warp resistant, dent proof, you know, it's fade resistant as well. It's a very nice material.
how do they, guarantee dent resist or dent proof? You said dent proof?
Yes, with a certain, up to a certain amount of pressure. I mean, of course, somebody takes a hammer to it, it's gonna.
Yeah, but how about a fist? Do
It depends on the amount of pressure, like I said.
you have any worry? I look at that material and I think,
I think it was,
you know, somebody coming up from one of the bars in Main Street, getting a little ornery with your building. Could deliver a dent. Not that I wish it on you, but
yeah,
it's a reality.
the property is also loaded with a ton of surveillance cameras. And we really, ever since the surveillance cameras, we don't get no more graffiti, no more really, no theft of the garbage bins, none of that. Which used to happen quite a bit, so now it's a deterrent.
Does anybody feel strongly about the siding?
Go back to the board and bed option and see if you don't mind.
Because my only observation would be that the horizontal siding kind of emphasizes the line staying,
Yeah.
which is quite significant, you know, and the board and it kind of gives it a bit more height.
But how long do these pieces come in? Like, what's the maximum material length? Are you gonna need?
They're different lengths, I think it's 8, 10, and 16. So
Because that's-
depending on the wall length is, you know what I mean?
Cause that center section, you're gonna need, sorry, do you mind going back down again? Can you get lengths that long without
No.
having? So then in that case, maybe the board and
Yeah,
batten,
I think
Yeah.
I lean that way, cause the seams,
cause I don't think the seams would be. I don't think it would give the final look that maybe you guys are going for, whereas the board and batten is, you know, kind of lends itself more to. You know, the different material lengths you're probably gonna have in reality.
I mean, you could also, we talked at the last meeting about maybe a party board or.
I brought that as well.
You know, I think there, the joints are flush, you know, there's no
Yeah,
channel.
no, it's a beautiful product. Yeah,
Yeah, I mean, if
I
you-
could go either way, really.
I think Shane's raising a good point that to have, you know, those channels that for joints, I think is gonna kind of mess up what you're trying to do, but you wouldn't have that problem with the composite.
Correct, yeah, because it would also be going up and down, and those lengths they do have,
Yeah,
you know, as opposed to 40-foot long piece, they do not have.
right.
Yeah, well, unless you go for the hardy board, in which case the seams are more.
It just looks
Yeah,
the way
so
siding always does.
that's kind of how I see it. Maybe like if you're set on this look, maybe the hardy board is Tom said,
Yeah,
or you know, the board and batten.
I'm back to Camilla's point about length. I mean, one of the things we try to do, and this building's doing it, and by the way, this is gonna be a really nice improvement. We haven't talked about the positives yet, but you know, this is gonna be a nice upgrade to a property that's pretty prominent. I think that the board and batten has an advantage for me, but I think if it were my project, I'd probably be looking into hardy board. Just for the resilience, I'm a little suspicious that somebody getting really out of control could dent that, and you know, it's really hard to replace after that.
Yeah.
And the hardy board would give you that horizontal look that you prefer.
Okay, so let's bring that photo back up if you don't mind. Party back to work, there we go.
Oh, that's hardy board in
Yeah.
board and batten.
Yeah.
Oh, but you can do hardy board.
Yes, they make it in the board back.
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah,
we could.
Yeah,
do it
yeah,
that's my
horizontal.
voice, yeah.
yeah, I think that would be great. That would be what I would do personally, but you know, I'm not here to tell
Would
you.
you do it horizontal? I feel the board and batten should be vertical.
No, I'm saying.
No, I was saying-
With the hardy board.
Yeah.
You could do
the
collaborative
the horizontal fiber.
Oh, gotcha,
So in
gotcha.
other words, the hardy board,
But I-
either or.
I think I'm with Camilla that vertical
Mhm.
feature is a nice one. You got the columns. This kind of makes sense to me.
So this one, okay. Yeah, I would, in the hardy board, I would prefer.
Okay.
This way with the,
Stephen, are you good with that direction?
oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, look,
So hardy board,
yeah,
board and batten style.
correct.
That's great. And then just to recap, the columns. I think you're free to explore, if you can get something with a little more mass, stick with the tapered, but I think it would be a really nice look to have straight columns in the middle.
I like the idea of using
Yeah.
straight columns in the center portion, because they are taller, you know, I think that would be a good look, keep the tapered ones on the two sides.
Mhm. Everybody agree on that? Tom, you good?
Yeah, I'm good.
Okay.
Yeah, thank you.
And then another thing George mentioned is maybe evening out the third sign from the left, just to, there's a little, I realize that these are different shop sizes. And-
Yeah, we're really just centering it over, you know, where the store was, really.
Some of them have existing signs that we would,
Yeah, really,
from the bottom to the top there, it's tough to ask a tenant to invest thousands of dollars in a new sense of.
right, so our intention was not to put new signs in.
Yeah, no, moving forward, a new tenant, I can request that
Right.
they do it a certain way before they sign a lease. But after the fact, it's tough, it's a tough ask.
Yeah,
Right.
okay. You're providing the overhead lighting. the goose-
Correct, yes.
That's a nice look.
Right,
Yeah,
it is.
the gooseneck lighting.
Okay, so. Is everybody okay with the signs being varied?
Yeah,
I mean, it does,
Yeah.
I see George's point that there's like a chance to make that all symmetrical in the middle. You could explore it, or that's a goal. Which tenant is it on the left? That's not Dedrick's already, is it?
That is, yeah.
Okay.
That's Dietrich's.
They may wanna redo it, I don't know.
I think they have the original signs, at least, that would be something familiar to people and
Right.
they would know that.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, that's a good
It's the
point, right?
same
They're used to
location, the
seeing it,
same
right?
business,
Yeah.
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 And that gives me the signs are different.
So in terms of the wall finish on like the left and right wing or the north and south wing. Because right now it's showing stucco on the north, south, whatever.
East
side.
Yeah,
Side, yeah, that's right, side.
we did that to kind of break it up so that you have an aspect around the whole plaza of mixed material.
I just think I think it's in conflict with like, because you're more or less kind of generally symmetrical. So I feel like, although I see what you're saying. I think you might be better off just, I don't know, what do you guys think?
I probably am with you, Shane, for that reason, plus another one. Stucco isn't really a material that's used that much in that part of town. I mean, further out, like in the Cox Plaza, it makes sense. There, and sorry. Manny's, yeah, we definitely got Manny's and Moon Burger. One of the things I always liked about what you have now, and I realize like that's off the table because of the ice problems, but there's something really warm and sort of town-like about the roof line, that metal roof. When you did that reno 20 years ago. Yeah, I thought it was a huge improvement. And this will be an improvement as well, but I think maybe just keeping the board and batten all the way out. That's probably what I would do, and you wanted to do it this way just to kind of differentiate it.
Yeah. It would also kind of modernize, so it's not so streamlined.
But then if you go with board and batten, maybe you could just use different colors or different sections. Changing like the
My understanding is it's all gonna be the same.
Like complementary colors.
Yes.
What's the distance in the center section outside about?
Very attractive.
So about
6 or 8 feet.
Okay.
It's not gonna look, it's gonna strip me off,
Yeah, I mean, Will's got a point, maybe just 2 variations on brown board and batten might just make that center section pop in a way. You've also got the columns you can play with.
What do you think if we did board?
Yeah, you can put board and batten across.
If we did board and batter the whole front, I would maybe suggest doing those columns stucco to tie into the top. Right?
That's
Do
possible.
them all stucco, and tie it into the top, and then all board and batten. Bottom.
All columns or just the center one?
I would say all columns, because we could stucco them and do both colors of the stucco, the trim color and the center, like the other color, but we're just tie into one of them. And give it that, have some element below just that overhang of stucco through the columns. If we're gonna do all board and batten and stone at the bottom, you know what I mean, it's tying in the stucco.
Yeah, I think that'd be. I don't feel strongly, I did like the tapered columns,
Yeah,
sort of sad to lose those, but.
I think it'll be more. I think it'll hold up better too, you know, I mean, those columns, people are gonna be knocking into them
There's a consideration,
and, you
right?
know.
The strength of the,
Yeah, I think just as it's just a more durable material. I don't know, I mean, I kinda like the stucco just kind of being like above the roof, you know? And then like every, you know, different materials below that line.
I think that's probably my sense too, Tom. The tapered columns are a nice touch, they kind of catty corner just beyond the bank is a house that just got renovated.
But we would have to do them a different color to pop off of that back wall. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree.
If we're doing taper, we just have to paint.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Or-
Is that a comfortable decision? Just so I'm sure what we're recording here. So carrying the board and batten out to the east edge. Painting the taper or straight columns in the middle. A different complementary color to make them pop. I think that's a good outcome. Is that good for you?
Yes, I'm
Okay,
sorry, yeah.
yeah, no, I just didn't want
Yeah, I
to
was
ram anything.
visualizing as you were speaking, I'm sorry.
Yeah,
Yeah, I think that would.
if we got a good solution.
Yeah.
One of the things George complimented, and I do too, is, you know, dropping that height is noticeable and it's a positive. Yeah. Does anybody have other observations or things you wanted to?
Just for the record, just to be clear, like we've arrived at this roof design because you've determined that with the roof as it is now, there's no way to get the leaders and the gutters. Okay, just to be clear, not to beat a dead horse, but
Yeah.
I know it's obviously a lot of work and expense to change. If you could just slap gutters on, I'm sure you would have considered that, but I just wanted to verify that.
Okay. Stephen, anything you'd add?
This looks good.
I think we've got a good solution. Let me just recap this. So with respect to the columns, the tapered ones at the two wings are gonna stay tapered. Painted a contrasting color so that they pop.
Yeah.
And then we're kind of leaving open what happens with the green center columns. If you can get something with a little more mass and less taper, that would be great with us. Otherwise, you could go square.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I'm leaning more towards the square.
Yeah, I think that would be mine.
Yeah.
Okay. And then the cladding, we're gonna go hardy board, board and batten style for the whole facade. Okay. All the way up to the east end. Columns painted, to complement each other. And then the roof design. I'll just mention it in the memo, the roof design has to be because of the safety issues. No, anything more?
And then I thought so color options will are below that, so if you decide to go with different colors, you know.
I think we would stay the one.
Yeah,
I
I
would
would,
say
I
one
would say
color.
one color for the.
Uniform.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then maybe use a different color for the columns like we talked about.
Yeah.
I think that would be enough.
Cause then
I think it would be too many different colors.
Correct.
Would
Mhm.
make it look a little more like a patchwork, I think, you know.
Yeah.
Right.
Cause if the goal is uniformity by bringing it all the way across the board and batten.
Right.
And then the stucco and then the stone, it has that uniform element and all the same color.
Right, it'll be
You
great.
know what I mean?
Please remind me, is anything changing with the parking flow? Is that all just, and the planters are staying?
Yeah, well, we incorporated.
Yeah, we
two
have-
more trees, right?
We have the existing planter and then we have two more trees.
Yeah.
Over in the parking lot that we're doing
That we're
diamonds.
adding it.
Right, we're gonna do a diamond, in between, so we don't have to lose any parking spaces themselves. So we have two of those.
Yeah, parking's usually right at the limit there. right?
That's very tight, yeah. Yeah.
Thankfully, it's
So we did find a-
walkable to a lot of people.
Right, but we did find a way to get both things accomplished.
Okay.
Yep.
Great. So, colleagues, can we vote to, what we would be doing is sending a memo forward to the planning board that we were thumbs up
Yeah.
on these changes. We thank you for considering our
Yeah.
suggestions. I think and hope these would be improvements.
Oh, yeah.
Thank you very much. And unlike some other boards, we don't charge you anything.
That's it.
Okay.
And thanks for the renderings.
Oh, sure.
I think that's great. So is there a motion to approve that set of changes and send the memo?
I saw move.
Steve,
DRB, 1602.
great. Shane,
I'll
second. All those in favor? Good. All right. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Very much.
Thank
Look forward to it.
Yeah.
When do you expect to start?
As soon as we get a building permit, yeah,
Yeah, don't worry.
contractor would have loved to have started by now.
Yeah.
Well, I will have this memo to the planning board within, I hope 48 hours.
I'll actually, we're meeting with them next week.
Okay, yeah, so definitely by the time you.
Excellent.
Okay, awesome, thank you.
Thank you
Have a
very
great
much.
evening.
Let's move on, everyone. We're going to talk next. This is gonna be DRB 2601, Lindsay Lawson representing, Ryport and Daniel Rubeck representing the business itself.
Right, of course not.
Okay. They're on the application. Please have a. Yeah. Welcome, Jamie. Hello. So everybody, I'll report some good news. We had a meeting almost a month ago, probably about a month ago. George and I met with Daniel and several representatives from Rycor. And the good news is we've got the Grove Street facing units down to 2. And it's closer or further from Main Street, so that's already a win. And the other,
And the leads to go up are inside.
and that's the other wing, so I feel like, more than half this battle is achieved. And, so now what we want to talk about, so the units would be between the first 2 windows and the second and third windows, and those line heights are gonna go straight into the building and come up on the inside.
I believe it's before the first window and then.
Oh, I'm sorry, yeah, let me check. That's even better.
It's before the first window. They're gonna even out a
Yeah,
slope there. And then the next one is just further down.
okay, between the windows. So this feels like the thing that we were concerned about, thing that you illustrated, Shane, at the last meeting was, very large units, just kind of blanketing that side is not gonna be the case. So I think we're down to the details of how do we get surrounds, maybe some combination of surrounds and plantings and.
Yeah, well, it's hard to get plantings because they're between window wells, so you can't plant on the side. And if you come by our church on Sunday, you'll see kids running up and down. It's generational birthday party, so we can't come out too far either
Okay,
on that. So it'd be more a matter of different ways to hide what's behind it and we have found on our own these are polyurethane. I didn't come with a big specification. Those are plastic But then. So for Tom, what you found are these which are wood that we would paint.
Yeah, yeah. We have options.
And I mean, they're bright wood there, but we would paint everything, the colors. And the right course says we can paint the units themselves, except for, they might disappear without a screen if they're the color of that wall, because they're right next to it, and then they'd probably be well hidden behind any of those.
Yeah, that's part of what I wanted to talk about, is whether painting the units would be sufficient. I kind of think it will get us halfway, but not all the way, because they're such tall units, you know.
Okay, because I did look at P and Gs, and I looked at their wall, and can't even see one of them.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just, it disappeared, so I said, well, paint might help, so I wasn't sure.
They wouldn't hurt.
Sometimes these structures that surround the units draw more attention to themselves than
Yeah,
the
that's
unit
interesting.
itself.
I didn't know you could keep them. That doesn't affect the warranty or anything?
No, there's just as long as you don't paint the label.
Like the service.
Oh.
The label that's
Yeah,
probably says when it was made and how, you know.
yeah,
Yeah,
serial
label,
number and all
you can
that.
paint the rest of it.
Camilla, you have a point, that sometimes, you know, it's gonna draw more attention than not. I think that's maybe more true of a single unit, you know, these are gonna be two stacked, they're gonna,
No, they're not. They're singles.
sorry, they're single, but they reach almost 48 inches, don't they?
Yeah, on their stand,
Yeah.
almost 48 on the stand. Which would probably be window height there, so.
Yeah, at one point Shane mocked it up, and that's pretty much what it was, maybe when I little time.
If you were to do the, have some kind of, barrier, some kind of cover, do you know, like, because that can't be right up against the unit, right? There's like some kind of setback requirement.
You know, they didn't tell me.
I think you need at least a foot or so. So I think maybe when you're all said and done,
Well, this one that one, it's 2x4 and it's 14 inches deep, so it would probably have a foot
yeah,
on the front anyway. We would have to put it together with the uprights of something that would get painted too.
Yeah, I think these are just sort of staked in the ground.
Those are just staked in.
Yeah. I mean, I sort of feel like something like that, I'm not advocating for this in particular, but, something like that, maybe with some low plantings around it, just to kind of soften it up,
yeah,
might be good.
it would definitely look good. I think,
Flowers or something.
Yeah, nothing, I'm not talking about big shrubbery or anything.
Oh, good, because that's another commission.
By the way, I don't know who's responsible, but their irises are just about to come up to, I walked by today and they look beautiful.
The shade committee said we could trim the tree in front of the parsonage, so.
It looks nice. Well, colleagues, what about this? The units could be installed and painted, and then we could talk in a couple of months.
Okay, sure, because our main point is summer's coming,
Yeah.
and over the last couple of summers, it's become kind of unbearable in there.
Yeah.
It didn't used to be. It was just a little bit, now it's stretchy out. So,
If you're agreeable to that, I guess we would, handshake deal that if we agree that it's not really hidden enough, that we'll come back to these.
sure.
Yeah.
Our church has been in town since 1720, so we're kind of good neighbors.
You are a good neighbor. I'm actually one of your neighbors.
I know.
Vouch for that. And, yeah, that gets you, the technical part can be done very, very quickly.
Then we can, and then that would also give us a chance to measure how actually high
Yeah,
there are. We have the estimates, it's on a stand, but it's,
right,
is it level or not?
yeah. No, I think, to me, the first breakthrough was getting rid of one unit and pulling them back away from the street. They figured out that technically they can put the other unit on the other side, so they're not inconspicuous wall out of the way of the children, because it's a playground there. Daniel, this sounds fine. I will send a memo ahead to the building department that we've agreed to this plan. And let's say, by September 1, we'll review that again. I know you're about to go and have an operation, so.
Well, that's true. If you called me tomorrow, I'd be giving a new hip, so I wouldn't answer.
We won't call you tomorrow, but I will send you a copy of this memo.
Okay.
And then we'll just agree to give it a couple of months for you to get them in, paint them, see what we all think. Maybe we'll do a site visit at that point. And I'm sure the outcome will be good. It's such a beautiful property and coming up to 100 years in that site, right?
Yes.
1929, St. Henry's just around the corner. Okay, so colleagues, is everybody comfortable with that? Motion to approve the installation as described, stipulate that they'll be painted to match the siding,
Yes.
and that further discussion of surrounds and or plantings by end of September. Are you comfortable with that, Drew? Motion to approve? Okay.
I'll move to
Recommended by Camilla, all those in favor? Okay, 4-0. Daniel, thank you for coming on the deed of your.
I take mine.
Good luck tomorrow.
Future with.
Yeah. Then I'll figure that back as well.
Second.
Yes, and all that's on your operation and your recovery.
Yes. Thank you.
Have a good evening. Thanks. Great. It's interesting. That's kind of a case that's gonna keep coming up. Like mini splits are everywhere and they've gotten big, definitely some of these institutional uses, the units are big. And we gotta kind of have some flexibility to be able to do.
Yeah.
I feel like that's a really good outcome. Great. Okay, so next on our agenda is, sorry, I'm looking for the agenda. Let's see, update and discussion of PB 2515 and HPC 2507, historic Huguenot Streets application for a visitor center. So the purpose of this meeting, this is for people who come. This is really kind of our internal discussion to make sure that we understand where we are in the project, to coordinate properly the planning board process. We will invite comments later, but really the idea is the public comment period will, I think, probably start next month, and we will make that very clear.
So we can't say anything then?
Later you can,
Oh, okay.
yeah, I mean, we would never shut anybody down, but it's kind of more to listen to how we're thinking about the
Yeah,
issues
that's
here.
all.
But yeah, I would invite your comments later.
Okay.
So at the end of the last meeting, I was asked to send a memo forward and I wanted to find out if anybody objected to anything in the memo. I did my best to characterize where I thought we were. I hope you saw that I also couched it into, we haven't voted. we haven't closed public comment, and I really haven't had a chance to have this conversation to make sure that I'm representing your views accurately. So maybe we could just start with that. Is there anything in the memo that we should revisit as a characterization of where the committee is right now? Because I don't want to misrepresent anyone, and there wasn't enough time to then circulate it. And if we're good, we can, very quickly move forward.
This is the email you sent to Zach.
Yeah, which I resent today.
Yeah, no, yeah, I saw it, I have it printed out here. I think one thing that's probably still, like a linchpin issue is the scale. And I think when you address that in the letter, I guess just, if I'm just reading this as an outsider, it seems like we're agreed that the scale is what it's gonna be, and that I guess if you're reading this and put a positive spin on it, you might take it as if that we're okay with the scale of the building. And I'm not saying that we're not necessarily, but it doesn't also seem like we have a unanimous
No, we don't.
view on that. And, personally, as we were discussing before the meeting, I think we need to see some kind of mock-up in order to really understand the scale in person. So I guess that's one thing I would say is, not that you weren't clear, but it just, you know what I mean? I guess maybe just set those expectations like a little bit more definitively that, I think we need like a personally, I think we need a mock-up. I mean, not to make a decision for everybody, but so that's one thing I would say.
Let's linger on that exact point, because I'm in agreement that this would be to everybody's advantage to see it staked out, maybe some balloons to give a sense of the height.
Yeah,
Is that generally agreed? Or
absolutely.
How do you feel about that?
I think everybody who walks through that property, who saw those would have a much better idea.
Okay, yeah.
Because it's hard to look at their renderings and then be able to project myself how tall this glass is.
Yeah, and the renderings are great, but obviously nothing, I mean, this is such an important impactful project. And they're gonna mock it up anyway at some point before it gets built, so why not get ahead of that? And I think it might help them too, it might put people's minds at rest that, oh, the building isn't as big as I might have initially thought, or maybe vice versa, but I think either way, it'll be a good thing to do.
Yeah. And Shane, on the other point, you're quite right that not only could the letter have been read as, kind of unanimity, but I think it was. I mean, as things were reported back to me, the thing that I was trying to avoid, which is we haven't decided and we still have to discuss, was taken as an issue. I think I wrote it because it hadn't come up as a persistent problem. I just didn't remember anybody among us saying, oh, this is way out of scale, even though some people from the public had said that. I just wasn't hearing any of us five say that.
Well,
I always brought up the scale.
Yeah.
I do recall Camilla saying that in the last.
Yeah, I do. I remember it as well, and probably could have tempered that comment.
And that was my initial comments too, but I think since they came back with a smaller design and their position being, this is really as small as we can go. The scale conversation kind of got tabled after that. Sorry, what was saying, Camilla?
Oh, I'm just saying that, is it really like the smallest?
I know, well, I think.
I'm not convinced at all, to be honest.
Yeah.
And the candle factory being there, I mean, how far do we go back and say, well, at some point, something existed somewhere, so it's okay to put something there. I'm not sure, I
Well,
use that as an argument. For the project or the scale of the project.
it's a factor. I mean, it's an interesting data point. But I think maybe my conclusion is, we're not resolved on the scale of it.
Yeah.
And
or even the location, really,
well, it's fine.
I mean, I think it's both of those things. I think the way I see it, we're kind of at an impasse between, they're not willing to negotiate on the scale of the site, and they think, you know, based on their design decisions, that that is the right size and location for the building, and they're obviously, you know, have agreed. You know, that's their opinion, but I think the only way to really move forward on this is a mock-up and something to react to, like, physically. Because, you know, I mean, that's the way I still see the project, is like trying to strike a balance between not negatively harming, you know, the site and, you know, what was even listed in the historic, or what was it, the interior recommendation for the project.
Oh, yeah, the
What did they describe?
National Register.
Yeah, the National Register, I forget exactly what their language was, basically that, you know, that the buildings are the original, condition, and they occupy a setting which has only been slightly impacted. So, I mean, that's still the conversation is, you know, how much is this building, the size and location of it gonna affect the setting?
Right.
And, you know,
Which,
it's, the jury's still out on that, is what I'm trying to say.
yeah, and I think I agree with that. I don't know if everyone does, but I think that's not decided.
No,
And I
no.
think also, just as a very pragmatic matter, you know, the seeker part 2 is being written now, and there's a question in there, question 18, about sort of local character,
Yeah,
and that relates to size and scale.
yeah,
I mean, one thing that I would say, having reviewed the comments at the planning board meeting, the recording that we all had access to, you know, I think we're past the point where most people are questioning their programmatic needs.
yeah,
And now a number of people said, I want them to have a visitor center, they need a visitor center, but I just don't like this one.
yeah.
And it usually boils down to scale and location.
Yeah, that's the way I certainly see it. And then even if you want to get into building details, maybe the stone wall, you know, but I think it's primarily the location and the size being the lot coverage, not necessarily maybe the height, but potentially the height of the stone wall, but yeah. Siting as in location and scale as in lot coverage and just overall building size.
Okay.
And maybe even some of the design elements, because although it cannot mimic a historic structure, the standards say that it should be compatible with existing buildings. So we can argue that maybe a design that's so different does not necessarily fit in. It can be differentiated in other ways. It doesn't have to be exactly like a storage, but something that,
Yeah,
especially with the scale, fits in with the buildings that I don't recognize.
Well,
I
I think,
wasn't so much
Yeah.
hearing that, I mean, that has come up for sure. But in the comments that we all listened to, I just didn't hear a lot of concern about the design elements. We have heard those concerns, like the wall. I remember somebody didn't like the perforated steel. We know that SHPO objected to the columns. But I just haven't heard as much about that. Doesn't mean we can't talk about it. Right.
well, I mean, in the Secretary of the Interior standards, what they recommend is ensuring that the new construction is secondary to the historic buildings and does not detract from its significance. Yeah, far enough away. So I think considering where they want to place the building, which is right there, I think there still needs to be a balance struck between the scale of the building, the architectural details, and where it is that they want to site the building. And I think early on, people were mentioning putting it on Broadhead, which I think would have, you know, I mean, that ship has sailed and, you know, they don't want to consider that, which is fair enough. But I think part of the reason people said that is because, you know, it gives you more latitude in terms of the size and scale of the building if it's going to be on the street. But since it's right there in the field, I think, you know, you really need to be, we just need to be extra cognizant of the scale of it, because it's right there. I mean, you read the Secretary of the Interior standards, and it's going to be hard to strike a balance with building a building right there, not having it be secondary to the historic buildings. I mean, it's going to be it's gonna be tough to do, so I think that's why building a mock-up is really the only way to kind of have a proper frame of reference. You know, to everybody to react to the same thing in person and be like, okay, like, what does this look like?
Right, and where it is.
You know, because everybody, the renderings are great and they're very accurate, but it's, you know, it's looking at a sheet of paper, it's hard.
Yeah, agreed. Agreed. I'll just throw in another thing. I mean, I think that ship has sailed with respect to the Broadhead
Yeah,
location, but one thing that came up, which was new to me, this was, I think I got her name as Avril Esau. She's an archaeologist at Vassar. She's on the board of Huguenot Street, but she was pretty emphatic that where it's sited is the least likely to have archaeological consequences. And we were sort of chatting before the meeting. I have to trust that that's true, but somebody, I guess, could challenge that conclusion.
Did they do any kind of imaging, or how did I know that?
yeah, she didn't really go into detail, but even assuming that that's true from our purview of reacting to the location and size of the building and analyzing it through the lens of the Secretary of the Interior standards, even if that's the case about the archaeological impacts, the architectural impact is that it's, you know, immediately viewable in the context of the surrounding buildings. So,
Yeah.
I mean, that's, you know, we're considering through that lens, and because of that, I'm still not, you know, even though I'm sympathetic to the programmatic needs, that since where they're insisting the building be located. Again, I think the only way to really get a sense of the scale in relation to the existing buildings is a mock-up. Not to beat a dead horse, but.
No, I think that's widely agreed upon. I don't want to put too much on the archaeological assessment, but it does sort of give Huguenot Street some credit for being thoughtful about that possibility, as well as pragmatic, right? Because it would massively slow down a project if you get archaeological resources. Let's see. One of the things that came through for me in the comments was they have one toilet for the whole, you know, so there's a programmatic need, like you gotta have ADA.
Oh, yeah, okay,
compliance. So,
definitely.
you know, I don't think there's any real debate around that. What I did hear pretty strongly, we've kind of heard consistently, is this band of asphalt. I mean, there are a bunch of elements to this, but this long band of asphalt that is designed to connect Front Street and Broadhead. I think keeps coming up as something people object to, and especially whatever effect it might have on the traffic right around the rail trail crossing the exit to Town and Country. So I'd like to hear more. I mean, there's a traffic study being commissioned. We'll see what that reveals. It's kind of not our purview, but I guess, you know, we're a partner in this decision. But I'm starting to ask the question that Michael Zeller asked in his comments on the 21st, which is, do you really need it at all? Like, is there a way to enter the parking lot from Broadhead, leave the parking lot from Broadhead, and take out that whole asphalt strip?
Based on the amount of traffic on Broadhead and on Huguenot Street, and I mean, I don't think they need such a long driveway, and people come and park and then they leave. I mean, I live on Huguenot Street and I have 10 to 15 cars per day parking along our property. Like people who go to the preserve and they're there, they come, they park, then they leave. I think it would be the same with school buses. And I really, as a neighbor, I really wouldn't have too many objections for a school bus dropping people off on Broadhead, which has 3 cars per hour. And not needing a huge long driveway and a bus turnaround and bus parking. They could park on Broadhead. And one of the things that, in terms of parking, that came up at the very first comment we had, congregant from the church, was like, we should work, you know, together with HHS. And then HHS said, well, no, we can't use that parking lot at Dale Hall. And I mean, the parking lot gets used an awful lot. The League, Dale Hall has voting. the church has events, the thrift.
Yeah.
I still think there could be some technological way to get parking to be shared amongst the existing spots, the existing space on the street. And maybe certainly some smaller amount of parking, which does not go through from front to Broad End. And that would satisfy people, but cars come, cars go, it's not like they're gonna be overnight parking for HHS events.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, just to put it simply from our, from our perspective, I mean, eliminating that long driveway would help minimize the impact on the site, in terms of just, I mean, it's as simple as that. I can't really speak to the traffic studies and, but just in terms of like, what we would, prefer out of the project is to obviously minimize the effects to, to the historic nature of the site, and that seems like low hanging fruit. I mean, if it's not required for a fire truck, I'm not really sure, but unless it's completely required by code and for safety or whatever, it just seems to me like it's just not appropriate.
Let's press them on that. I don't know the answer.
Yeah.
I know their answer has been that they need it, but I don't know if that's based on a programmatic versus
Yeah.
a legal.
No, it's true. I don't think, going back on previous meetings, I don't think we ever really got a full explanation as to why it's necessary.
I agree with your point, that just the whole nexus of community objections would go away, right? That principal part of green space would be
Yeah.
more preserved, and the whole thing about the turns onto Front Street would go away.
Yeah.
So they, if they can do it, it may make their lives a lot easier.
It's a lot less of the site that they're touching for their project, it just seems like it would be good.
And a gate that they don't have to monitor.
Yeah.
Right, because now I assume we're talking about 2 gates that have to be locked and unlocked daily. Yeah, that feels like a kind of nexus of concerns that we should ask about.
It's okay, it's okay, okay, one of my major concerns, I work with children, and I know how parents typically, in 2026, how different it was when I was a parent. My daughter's 33, and I'm very concerned about North Front Street. I think that the design to have buses coming down there, I don't understand how the numbers work there, how many feet across the road is that's going to allow a large bus coming down there. There's people that still come up from Main Street and they go up, what's the name of that street that's just coming up along where where your condo is, what do you call it?
Town and country.
Down, I know, but what's the name of that street?
On what, talking about where Pegasus is, right?
No, I'm talking about the other side from Main Street, when you turn at the old Clemson Brewery.
That's
Oh,
Huguenot Street. That's Huguenot Street.
Huguenot Street, I'm sorry, my brain's not working right now. When you come up Huguenot Street there, I cannot tell you how many times there is some person who doesn't live here driving a very souped up car, like bat out of hell, coming up around that corner where the big statue is.
Perfect example.
There is accidents that could happen there. There's distracted families walking on the rail trail. You see it all the time. The parents are 20 feet behind the kids. They're coming up to go across the road. And then you have parking on one side, and just on a normal day, you got parking on one side, you're coming down, people are coming up. There's just simply, it's hard to even just navigate on a normal day, let alone a weekend, let alone gigantic buses. I don't get it. I don't understand why people aren't questioning the safety per.
Well, I think they are. I mean,
I'm glad you are.
I think it's one of the consistent themes that we're hearing. And just to clearly report back, it's now on our list of things that we'll.
Yeah.
Colleagues, let's carry on. What else needs to go in this next memo?
I think we should also look at what Jennifer was saying and have a discussion with them ourselves. Because from my reading of the support letter from Shippo, it was a very generic kind of support. It said they support a visitor center. They didn't specify that we support this visitor center as submitted to us. So we don't really know what they are supporting
Oh,
exactly.
interesting, yeah, I didn't even notice that.
It was pretty generic.
Yes,
I
and
mean, that may be bureaucraties too, but
right, but you know.
Yeah.
It's a
No,
big
it's true, I
project.
mean,
They should-
yeah.
They should be able to
Yeah.
elaborate a bit more. And you know, the columns, that's something that's very visible. That was the biggest feature. So maybe they brought it up as an example, like, okay, well, here is something everybody sees, let's say something about the columns. I'm just not convinced that Shippo actually knows what they are commenting on, or the person who wrote that letter.
Yeah, I mean, I think we want to be careful how we frame that, but
Yes,
Yeah.
well,
we actually responded well to the columns on first presentation. I think I remember us saying, oh, that's a nice design feature. But they were sort of hand-hewn.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, no, I like the original.
It was a surprise to me that they didn't like that. How would we go about doing that? Just ask them for more details about how the letter was.
right, and, you know, maybe we can contact our CLG coordinator.
Okay.
Is Francis Durant.
Yeah.
Because remember when we was tired or she left.
Yeah, yeah.
The new coordinator, and the person who wrote the letter is, somebody else.
I mean, we probably should respond to the person who wrote the letter, but why don't we just ask for clarification and sort of, you know, show the map that got us to this.
Because in my mind, you know, there are discrepancies between standards and their recommendation that they supported, when, you know, the scale is not correct. If we want to apply their own standards, you know?
The Secretary of Interior.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, I don't know that it's not correct, but it's something that we keep hearing.
I mean, to my mind, it's not correct, but maybe I should accept it.
I mean, I think one of the tricky things, Secretary of Interior standards are obviously useful and important and mostly common sense, but they're not really a blueprint for how you decide a case like this.
I wish there were more on new construction.
Yes.
Those 2 pages at the end, and I'm like reading a caption of a photo going, oh, wow, there's really information, there's a lot of information in this caption, but it's not elsewhere in the document.
You know, I think it's clear that you don't want to try to replicate the site. Everybody understands that. It's tricky because most of the guidance has to do with like one building with another building either added to it or another wing added to it, or in this case, another building built next to it. But what we have on Huguenot Street is a collection of, you know, reasonably small private dwellings that form corpus of the street. And so it's tough. I don't think it's straightforward, but I think it's exactly what we should be talking about. And it leads to, you know, this idea about whether it's appropriate or not.
I do think some of the principles are clear though, like again, like ensuring that new construction is secondary to the historic building and does not detract from its significance. Obviously, that's up for debate, you know, everybody has their own opinion, but you know, the essence of that is pretty clear.
Yeah, no, I think
And
that's,
I think given, you know, again, just the location that they're insisting on. And even though they've compromised the size, I mean, the scale is still not such that, you know, that anybody can confidently say that it's not gonna detract from the significance of the historic buildings.
right. Yeah, no, I think that's asked.
There is a section called new construction within the boundaries of historic properties, and then it says, it is possible to add new construction within the boundaries of historic properties if site conditions allow, and if the design, density, and placement of the new construction respect the overall character of the site.
Yeah.
You can argue whether
That's right.
it meets this condition or not. I mean, it's pretty
Well, I would certainly want to hear from SHPO if they feel like the project as presented meets that parameter,
In a
And-
specific way.
and how, yeah,
Yeah.
and what their interpretation is.
Okay,
I don't know, it says related new construction, including buildings, driveways, parking lots, landscape improvements, and other new features must not alter the historic character of the property.
Yeah.
And then new construction should be placed away from or at the side or rear of historic buildings and must avoid obscuring, damaging, or destroying character defining features of these buildings or the site.
I mean, I would say that's mostly achieved by where it's sited, right? It's not right next to one of the stone houses, it's not in the middle of the.
It's not, although when you go back to that site plan, I mean, it's significantly larger in terms of lot coverage than what is it, the Dale house is the largest one.
Yeah.
I mean, and the Dale house in and of itself, when you just go to the Huguenot Street, you notice that it's much bigger than the other
Yeah.
stone houses, so it's,
Mhm.
can we look at that site plan actually, Sarah, do you mind? Yes. That's
The original on paper, if we wanna do it that way.
because they sent up a newer site plan.
Yeah, this is from, first presentation, so it isn't that helpful. In that packet was a comparison, at least of height. I don't think it ever got into footprint comparison. But I made a note, Shane, that that's something that can be discussed.
I mean, it seems like they kept the height down and they had like a, you know, like a shallow shed roof. I mean, it seems like they kept the height down as much as they can, I guess, but it's really the lot coverage that is still kind of shocking to me.
It's mainly the outdoor area that was reduced, not necessarily the inside.
I think so,
Yeah,
yeah.
it was
The
mostly.
cover changed, so
Yeah.
I'm not sure how much of a reduction, but I mean,
Well,
we should view that as a reduction in the size of the building, because really it just affects the roof. How much it extends, it's not the inside.
one of the comments at the planning board was exactly that she felt that the plan has not really changed in a significant way. Something that actually, Greg, you brought up, is that the consultant suggested 5,000 square feet. They've consistently come in at 7,700. I think we should ask that. I've actually never seen their consultant's report. I suspect it's not a single report. But if you all agree, that's a question that should be asked. I do understand that you might want to build for the future, like that seems like pretty wise programmatic spending. But I think it's a question worth asking. If you all agree, yeah.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I'm sure from their perspective, there's an economy of scale, you know, like they're building, they're mobilized, and they want to get, you know, they want to meet all their potential future goals. But at the same time, you know, we're working around the parameters of a historic,
Right.
significant site, so I'm just not sure that that's all balanced yet.
And they think they can raise that much money to build that many square feet. That's also an economic driver, is you can raise 7 million or 12 million or whatever it is.
Yeah,
Yeah, 7,000.
Yeah.
And they building 5,000.
Mhm. Okay, that strikes me as something worth asking. So back to the seeker that the planning board is working on. Historic and local characters are very fuzzy idea. You sort of know it when you see it. Like, you know, some towns dominated by military because they have a military base or a certain corporation. It's harder to say what New Paltz's character is, but I think it's eclectic. There's a lot even on Huguenot Street going on, you know, including a very large condominium complex. But that's a question that has to be addressed in the seeker. And I think the planning board probably would like our thoughts or guidance on that.
But in what way are we looking at that? Because in the, again, going back to the recommendation from the Secretary of Interior for the original landmark, it's talking about the site in terms of its, what does it say here?
Which page are you on, Shane?
I think it was the third or fourth page of the document. What did I say? But they basically talk about how collectively within the boundaries of what they're considering, to propose for a landmark status, it's how it's a
Oh, this is the nomination.
yeah, the nomination, how it's an accurate representation of an early settlement. So are we looking at the context of, the landmark boundaries, which is essentially, the stone houses and the immediate surroundings, or what, like Huguenot Street more generally, or downtown New Paltz, like what's the context in which we're making that, that judgment?
I would imagine it would be historic event.
That's what I would think.
Since the proximity to the.
Yeah,
proposal.
Because it even talks about how as Huguenot Street goes north and it bends east, it's kind of like, where the stone houses kind of, stop. And then beyond the stone monument to the south there, that's kind of like, it's almost as it is like a natural, kind of like self-contained, it's like the settlement is kind of exists within those boundaries even today, besides the Dale House, which was, now it's a Queen Anne. But is that the context in which we're judging this building, or is it? That's how I've been interpreting.
Yeah, it's a good question. I mean, the document that you're citing, the nomination form, lists contributing and non-contributing properties. It's a little bit a piece of its age. I mean, I think we would be a little more generous about what contributes to Huguenot Street now. But that could be a starting point, what in 1984 they considered contributing versus not. I mean, Stevens House, for example, locally, we consider that contributing, absolutely.
But aren't the boundaries of what that document suggests as being landmarks just essentially almost like the pedestrianized area, or maybe I'm wrong, because isn't this just nominating like the area immediately around the houses? Like, wouldn't Stevens House would be too far north from what this document was referring to, right?
I didn't really correlate this to a map, so I'm not sure.
I think it
But
gave
I
like
think
the
you're mostly right. Yeah. But okay, so that's a worthwhile question. And
Yeah.
as we're trying to determine that, we probably need either to be told or decide for ourselves what the scope of the neighborhood is. I didn't have time to read the whole document. I just didn't. But I think you're right that their notion of what was being landmarked was the immediate now pedestrianized zone, which was not pedestrianized.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, sure.
Would it be right if I just said a few words?
Sure. And let me also say, I think we'll be opening public comment at the June meeting, so please feel free to come back.
Yeah,
And or send written comments.
what date would that be in June?
Like, whatever. That sounds right.
The eighth?
Yep, June
Monday,
Maybe it's, I don't know.
Please.
All right, let me just make a couple of comments. My name is Fonda Lawcliffe, and I have lived on Huguenot Street since 1994 at Town and Country Condominiums. Actually, the exit, it's an exit and an entrance that goes on to North Front Street, which is directly almost opposite Ann's house. That's on the other side, that's on Broadhead. And one of the first things is that one-way road that they're proposing I think it would be a nightmare. You were talking about how Huguenot streets, and some of us at Town and Country come out around Huguenot Street. And when we get to that statue, you can only have one car going one way and one car going the other way. There have been accidents there where people misjudged and hit the statue. But it's a very delicate and you have to go very slowly. This is not where you could just zoom in and zoom out. That's only the tip of the iceberg. There is a lot of traffic at this time. I cannot imagine tons of people coming down with public transportation. And I just feel the whole thing there's nothing wrong with change if it brings about enhancement, education, but it's the level at which it's proposed that I think would be detrimental to the area. You used a very good word, a classic look. It's classic, it's historical, it's charming, it has a precious nature. Not only that, but also the historical buildings. The reason they closed off Huguenot Street, I know it was about 10 years ago, was because the vibrations on vehicular traffic were damaging or had the potential to damage the buildings themselves. I can't even imagine with this traffic in the adjacent roads what it would do. And Barbara, who just spoke before about children and whatnot and walkers on the roads, and we have a lot of people that are cyclists and walkers. It's just a certain way of life in the community. It would really damage it. I'm not saying they couldn't enlarge the visitor center or perhaps enlarge the parking area, but not to that extent. It just is too much. And you also made a very excellent suggestion. You were talking about the traffic study that desperately needs to be done to see where the traffic is. There are 147 units at Town and Country, just to give you an idea, and that comes right out onto North Front Street.
Yeah.
So
It's my
I
understanding-
implore you to really think carefully about it. It's just such a precious area, aside from the rail trail and walking, and it just adds so much to the community and, if I may say, to the world at large. Thank you.
Thank you, yes. It's my understanding that the traffic study's already been commissioned, like they're doing it. But I will make sure that that's made. I mean, we do keep hearing about that problem, and a sub part of that is the fear of cut throughs. And I don't know, I don't really know what the patterns are there, but I have to take it as a serious concern.
Chair.
Yes, please. Yes, by all means.
Interrupted, Matthew Bialecki, architect. If I could find.
Sure, yes, please.
I wrote extensive comments about the plan.
We received them,
In the
yes,
fall,
I
yeah.
appreciate them.
And I guess I would, and I'm joined by the other architects in the community, who I'll name. Rick Alfondra, Alan Ross, John Vett, Matthew Bialecki. We are professionally in agreement, if not united, that the project is too big. It's in the wrong place. And the parking is too extensive. And in the wonderful discussion you're having about going back to SHPO, I would encourage you or hope to say SHPO. And to the applicant, prepare an alternative and send the alternative to SHPO. Say, which one do you like more? Because the scale of this compared to Dale, it's not 77, it's the roof. Almost 10,300 square feet of roof. And so that means the volume is this. And you need to be a practicing architect to go, it's completely out of scale. It's also the revision has done little if nothing to change. They moved it back a little. We have said, flexibility as architects, please take this, move it here. Follow the street. Build it, house, building. And keep this open.
Yes.
take the parking, put it here. It's less parking. And please, please, to that comment, remove this connector road. And those three things. And then it grieves me, and I'm sure it grieves all of us, that we want to line up Main Street with flags saying, welcome visitors. This is divided neighbor against neighbor and friends and family. I mean, one of my dearest clients is on the board manifesting this. So I hope that maybe could please prepare an alternate. I am concerned about the architecture, but much less than site plan. Rotate it, respect the street, parking on the side. This is a manifestation of a 20th, 21st century strip mall. I'll say it. Nice, beautiful signature steakhouse surrounded by parking. It's not a historic 18th century street. The models that I've brought up, and I encourage you to go, at the FDR library, done by the original consultant that they was proposing the 5,000 square foot. By the way, Francis Hausman, from very honored FAIA fellow American Institute of Architects. That I would say, when people say, and I've heard you, oh, you don't want to ape or just mimic the old, that building. Like, what year, what world is it from? It uses all of the stone, shingle, and yet it looks entirely contemporary, of our time. So it can be done without, eroded stone walls, metal roofs, and perf metal. But I am. Oh, and the other thing, the volume, I didn't say that. So much of the volume, 7,700 square feet of floor area, almost 10,300 in roof area. If the roof was just broken, Shane, and lowered, but it continues. So even though the height is not, it's the volume, the looming volume of it that strikes all of us community architects as, like, if you just broke it here and then lowered the guy, that would break that up and reduce scale. But look at that outline, and actually, do you have the Masson study that they have with the color renderings of the, I didn't see that as you went through. But if you look at the color, is this the update, Tom?
No, this is the original. I don't know that
Well, maybe it would have
could be a starting.
that. Oh, it's, if I can, I don't want to. Yeah, come on, this is it. Exhibit 1, inappropriate. It's, look at the scale. So that's, I would hope, and I thank you for letting me interject, and I'll comment and try to explain it more. And other, Alan Ross has made, a huge effort.
Yeah, Alan was one whose comments were recorded with the last.
Yeah, and we have consulted with each other to kind of try to bring back, because you look at that. And it's in the wrong place. Thank you.
Thank you, Randy. To the best of my knowledge, we have not heard from Rick Alfondre. We have from John Beck, we have from Alan Ross, but I can't remember.
Well, Rick, we've all been speaking for ourselves, so I'll
just
won't push Rick too far in front of the line. He's got other
profession. Responsibility.
Thanks very much.
Well, based on,
Colleagues.
if I may, I mean, we were saying earlier that, oh, maybe this ship has sailed about the broad. I would hope that it has not, you know, I would hope that they could be convinced to revisit that. So Michael Zeller spoke with that, at the planning board.
Right.
And I still agree that that would be a very positive thing.
It can be asked, I mean, this memo, it's always been my practice to send whatever I send to the planning board to the applicants, and so that can be embedded as a question. I think what has sailed is using existing properties, like that was a live question months ago, but I'm persuaded they need more space so that they can become a repository, not a visitor center.
So let's consolidate the reasons that they are proposing the building where they are, just for our understanding, and obviously they should clarify this, but they have this view shed concept.
Yeah.
Right, when you're inside the building and you're looking at, which, I mean, I understand as a concept, I understand that that's interesting, but I'm not sure how successful that is, and I'm also not sure that it's worth compromising.
Aspiration.
Yeah, and I also think, I think ultimately, even if that's an interesting concept, it means locating the building smack in the middle of, where a lot of people have a problem where, and I think us included. So I think we can challenge that,
Okay,
or at least ask SHPO what their thoughts on that.
we should ask Huguenot Street as well.
Yeah, and then the other thing was the archaeologist in the last meeting who had mentioned in her professional opinion that
Right.
that locating it on Broadhead would be more disruptive, although I believe that she was speaking honestly, there wasn't necessarily a lot of supporting evidence given to that. So, I think this ultimately might be the most important conversation for the, tabling from the details of the building itself. So I don't know, I guess I'm just not, I haven't really heard a convincing argument outside of the view shed concept, which I'm just not really sold on just yet, as to why the building is where it's being proposed. Because if they're not willing to compromise on the scale for their programmatic goals, I think we can all agree it's just much larger than all other buildings.
Yeah.
It's like the size of 3 or 4 of the houses combined. And, if they are set on those programmatic goals and they're not willing to scale it down any more, then I really think they have to revisit the location.
That's a good idea.
An interesting angle, one we haven't really talked about before. Okay. Let's get that into the next.
Or at least just, I guess just a more convincing argument as to, why the building has to be there, why it has to be there.
Okay. I would want to ask the same thing about the driveway. Increasingly, I'm feeling like it's not worth the trouble unless there's some reason that it has to.
Yeah, I don't know why, I thought that was required for like a fire truck or something.
Yeah, but there are ways to do that with like
Yeah.
a simple gravel path and a chain that can be cut in
Yeah.
emergencies. Lots of places don't have a.
And aren't they reinforcing some of the grass? So if they really need access, could they do the reinforced grass? I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know the answer, but that just seems to be a real nexus of concern as you think about the comments that we've had.
Could I say one thing about that?
Sure.
I did a calculation based on the village zoning law. When you take the entire program and allocate the recommendations of parking places per square foot.
Mhm.
And I did it in an exaggerated way. Normally you're architect, you take the lowest one and apply it, but I took the highest one and applied it. And I got 28 spaces.
So 28 spaces based on 7,700 square feet, that's the ratio. Interesting. That's never.
Straight from the village parking requirements. Now, that's a minimum. But the current, I believe, is the reduction, they've gone from 105 to 78, I believe,
About right.
87,
or,
No, well,
oh, I had an 8 in front of
there's
us.
some, there's
it's,
some.
we have it, I don't have it.
Still dramatically, like nearly treble of what the law says. Many people in planning try to just eliminate that word. Spaces minimum and do spaces, these are the maximum, right? So that you avoid this, you're like, oh, we need, you know, previously 105, now 78 or something. So anyway, thank you for
No, that's interesting data,
Just-
that's helpful.
I
Germany.
think the zoning, the letter that the zoning board wrote, I think they said, the minimum requirement is 37.
Okay.
And then,
Yeah, I might have to know.
Well, we can ask for clarification. That was per the ZBA. Okay.
and I think there is one more thing that we should look into. In some of the conferences that I attended years ago, you mentioned that, in historic districts, zoning does not, at a higher rank than historic preservation requirements. HPCs can supersede
The supersede
zoning.
zone.
So I don't know if we could clarify that with the lawyer, with the village lawyer.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, because that's usually a contention between historic districts and zoning, or they allow certain things that
That wouldn't be allowed
historic
otherwise.
districts would not be.
I mean, that makes intuitive sense. I can't think of a time that's ever come up for us.
Yeah.
Maybe because we've just acceded to it. I mean, there's always some appeals too. Okay, I can ask that. So I think that we should open the June meeting to public comments and make sure that it's announced well in advance. That's one reason we're not doing it tonight, is this meeting sort of came together very haphazardly and quickly, last week. Is everybody in favor of that? I think the time is right. And maybe keep it open for or June and July, and we don't meet in August. Right, we don't meet in August. So I think that's kind of the timeline. With a couple of exceptions, and Matt, your comment about parking requirements and a couple of other things. I mean, I think we're sort of hearing the same things again and again, because they're important to people. I don't mean to suggest that they're not, but there's a point at which we probably got all the data that we're ever gonna get. Yeah, so does that feel like the right timing? June, maybe go into July if we think it's appropriate.
Yeah, I mean, I don't see any reason to push it back any further
I don't either.
in terms of public comment. I mean,
Yeah. Part of the confusion was that based on a meeting, a couple of meetings ago, at the joint meeting in January, I thought that we were to be on the sidelines until the seeker was completed. That was my takeaway, and that apparently is not the case. So that's why I wasn't proactive in February or March about anything. So why don't we do that, and suggest that we do that. It may be good for that to be a joint meeting again. I don't really know if that's advantageous or not. Yeah. Please, do you want to-
Yeah.
Oh, I'm so glad I came tonight. Okay, so my name is Ann, and I live on Huguenot Street. I'm loving these comments. I was very impressed that you were so familiar with all the comments that were made. I mean, you really knew, and this person, I just love that. But what I'll just say, I'm gonna keep it real short and sweet. for some reason, I've been thinking today about the words historic preservation. Right? So your job or whatever mission is to preserve historic buildings, historic places, historic landmarks, historic, historic land. And in a way, these delicate ecosystems and these hundreds-year-old buildings can't speak for themselves and can't protect themselves. They need others to protect and preserve them. And I know with so many people, because I get asked everywhere, they shop right there, everywhere I go, is it off the table land? Are they still doing, what's happening? Because people love Huguenot Street. They're in love with it.
Yeah.
And it is the soul of this community, the heart and the soul. And I think what we're all afraid of, I know I am, let me speak for myself. I think what we're all afraid of was one day you wake up and it's gone and it's ruined.
Right, forever.
You remember it like this, and it's not like that anymore. It's ruined forever for all the generations that come after us. And when I hear this stuff, I think to myself, you just hear kind of this, today everything more, bigger, more steel, new, oh, bigger, bigger, taller, taller. Where does it end? I mean, it's like access road, pave the parking, go, it's just warming kitchens, events, amphitheater, where does it end? It's this little postage stamp of green open space. It's a postage stamp. The whole entire historic district is 10 acres. And they're talking about this gargantuan thing. And I keep thinking, I was thinking yesterday, one of the reasons, now I entertain myself in the car, one of the reasons people love New Paltz, they want to live here, they want to come here. We are a community. There are such highly intelligent people. We have athletes, all kinds of creative working artists. This is a community of outliers. And we can't come up with a more creative way to have a visitor center. Everybody's saying, yes, visitor center, how lovely. And we're like this because we're saying not that visitor center. I go by the Dale Hall and I think, am I out of my mind? This is, the Dale House, I'm sorry. This is perfect. At the entrance of the historic district, people could be in a building, not looking at one, having coffee, buying a gift, whatever. You'd have everybody on board. It's a no-brainer. But instead, it's like access roads. We're like, what? No, this is not Gettysburg. It's a little 10-acre place. And it's, I'll just say this, I'm gonna shut up. It's a very, very delicate ecosystem. And once you start messing with an ecosystem, what happens is everything outside of that ecosystem starts to become contaminated and it loses its value. And I just talked about this to the, what do you call like the mayor and everybody, the delegates, mayor? Trustees, last week. And my dad was an architect and an environmentalist. And as a matter of fact, I'm gonna name drop here, but when Lyndon Johnson was president, he was on Lady Bird Johnson's beautification committee. So I grew up knowing a little bit about this. My father was central player in saving the Indiana dunes, which were going to be plowed under by US Steel. Okay, fast forward. Who has the last laugh? The Indiana, they beat them. They beat Indiana. They beat US Steel. This grassroots group of outliers beat US Steel. Who has the last laugh? The most must-see place in the Midwest is the Indiana Dunes State Park, which is also a historic park, which is also a historic lakeshore, like the historic seashore, in Cape Cod. It is now the diamond of the Midwest where everybody comes, and they didn't change anything. It's just like it was when I was a child. So I'm saying, let's wake up and smell the coffee before it just goes on without us. And the grass is paved over and the trees are cut down and this access road, which nobody needs, is there. And it's more and it's more and it's more and it's more. More is not better. It's not better, it's just more. And it's endless. That's what I think.
Thanks, Sam.
Tom, aren't you sorry to say, and you want to stay over?
Well, we actually still have a lot of agenda ahead of us. Let's wrap up, by saying thank you for attending. You're of course welcome to stay through the next part of the meeting, which won't be as exciting. But, we've now agreed that, we'll, reopen public hearing, which never closed.
Thank you for that.
Thank you for all the attention and time.
Well,
and effort
thank you.
and-
You
Thanks for
know,
coming.
this is
Going
how,
we appreciate
I'm
it.
so impressed.
this is how good communities, work out difficult problems, and it's not an easy problem we've got here. So
Tom, can I
thank you.
just say that I sat in that meeting wondering who in the world does somebody to care about these comments? Well, I mean, I rest my case with that. You were so
Oh, no,
familiar with
all my colleagues did the
Well, I
same.
know all of you, yeah, of course.
Yeah.
No, listen, and we
Thank
did,
you.
That it really does matter to show up and speak what's on your heart, doesn't
Yeah.
it?
no, and we did the same thing in January. There was a joint meeting in here, very, very well attended. And we took diligent notes at that meeting. We collected every written comment. I mean, we're really trying to do our best. There isn't anybody who doesn't want this to work out well.
Right.
And now it's a matter of what that's.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
so much.
Yeah, thanks.
To take care of our community.
At the beginning, at the public, meeting, everyone has just said that we really don't have a chance to actually sit down and
Yeah, but I was, that was my very next question.
Wonderful.
Well, I think it should be, personally, let's talk about it, but I think it should be within the confines of the meeting. And we can limit their time, they don't have to start from zero.
Because we haven't had a discussion.
Yeah.
Issues.
Right. Well, they're always welcome to do that.
They are, but I think.
Not for a while, they certainly did, at least once or twice. before.
Well, we have the written materials that everybody can look at. it on that,
Yeah.
But it's not really that the communities. They want to have a face-to-face discussion with HHS.
Yeah. Well, I think that we could certainly encourage that, but I think for structuring this public comment meeting, I think it would be good for them, I'm sort of thinking like, tell them 15 minutes and no more. Like, do an overview of where the project is now, answer some of these questions about why it has to be here, and why you need the driveway, and why it has to be 7,700 square feet, and really, ask them to do that. And in a parallel way, we can ask SHPO for, just to ask them to flesh out that letter a little bit that I'm trying to think of the way to do this politely. But I think I agree that it was kind of generic.
Yeah, no, that's a great point, Noah, about the SHPO letter.
I agree. The planning board also felt it was inadequate, so we'd be doing a favor to them. Do we agree though that let's let Huguenot Street have some time, start the meeting with any luck, the people who want to comment hear that accurate and up-to-date information and those justifications and maybe answers to our questions.
So just on that, should we prepare a list of, I mean, not like a long list, but like, should we decide on what those questions are that we want? Because we want them to be prepared with those answers for the next meeting.
Sure,
right?
yeah, we could do that.
This way, they have a chance to, make their argument.
I think that's a great idea. Here's what I've been taking notes this whole time, mostly with an eye to this next memo to the planning board. But, we're still discussing the scale. We're still discussing the siting and the location. There's some discussion about the design elements. Like, clearly Matt Bielecki hates the building. I don't think we've particularly ever hated it, but,
But it could be better, I mean, it could be different. Remember, there was a time when we were suggesting, George and I were talking about it, that maybe they could have a cluster of small buildings with a courtyard or something for outdoor events along the old head, or even where they all is, just extend it. building somehow.
We could certainly ask, I mean, in the pragmatics of hiring architects, they're gonna be really resistant to a complete rethink of
Yeah,
everything.
I think
It's a good idea to come up with an alternative plan.
it is, I mean, but, you know, even, I mean, Matt would know too, and, you know, it's. On one hand, you know. I would like to just ask them to consider like. Can you just at least try putting the building on Broadhead and see what you might come up with, but I also know pragmatically, you know, somebody has to pay. The architect to come up with an entire scheme, and that's not cheap, however. That being said, that doesn't mean that, you know, since they've already paid for the architectural service for this design, if we find it inadequate, that we should roll over, of course, that's not the case. So. Well. You know, I'm sympathetic to the client, to the applicants having to, you know, pay for more architectural services. I mean, this is a really important building we're talking about, you know, and you gotta make sure you get it right. You know, so I'm hesitant because I know architectural services are expensive, but at the same time, I think we ultimately have to decide if where they're at right now, you know, is appropriate, and, you know, again, that involves all the things we've been talking about, siding, the location, the scale, you know, the architectural elements of the building. I mean, I think maybe the fastest way, you know, towards determining if this design is appropriate or not is opening up the public hearing, having them answer those questions, then, you know, let people decide if their argument is sound or not as to why the building is here, why it's designed the way it is. You know,
It is a wild idea. Maybe some of the architects who are against the proposed design, maybe they wouldn't be in opposition to doing something pro bono even.
I mean, maybe, but then there's also, I mean, there's, you know, like who's gonna be the architect of record for, you know, like legally,
Just to show.
A
you know,
concept.
to
yeah,
show
like
that-
a consultation,
yes.
yeah, of course.
Just to show that it could be done, you know.
They
They
have
would
spent,
be able to draw up something. Something scalable.
You know, to Shane's point though, I mean, even just. Asking them to consider it doesn't really cost any architectural time. You know, start with that, we think a lot of the resistance would go away. If you cited it, that same building or something close to it on Broadhead, could that ever work? And just hear what they have to say.
I mean, I agree, I think I almost feel like we've had that conversation, but we haven't had like a real definitive. Answer as to why not. It kind of came up in the planning board with, you know, with the archaeological reasonings, you know, and you know, maybe that's all the evidence we need, but it's, I guess we would have to, I don't know, get a more convincing, some kind of set of documents or findings or something. I don't know. I'm not sure. I mean, I feel like a lot of the issues would go away if the building was moved to Broadhead, but that conversation has been out there for months and they haven't proposed a design on Broadhead, so. You know, we can't like force them to do that, obviously, but at the same time, just last thing, I haven't heard a convincing argument as to why the building needs to be where it is, that's it.
Yeah,
they may not have had enough sufficient for their measures of pressure to say,
Right.
consider Broadhead, then their default is, well, we paid the architect and this is where it's placed.
Yeah.
I mean, the library I used to work for, when I first was hired, they were doing an expansion and they had a beautiful design and they realized they couldn't raise the money, so they said to the architect, we need to scale this down, and they got a shoebox. They paid $250,000 this is a public library, and they spent $250,000 to pay off the architect and hired a local guy and paid him and then built that. And 25 years later, I'm no longer there. They hired an architect. Well, I was there for the hiring of an architect. They paid him a great deal. They got a plan. They didn't like it. They hired another architect. They got $300,000 bill and a $100 million plan in a town where they could never build any of this. So again, they paid off the architects and, I mean, architects can respond, you can get a better architect. I mean, I would hope that they would, I mean, they did spend a lot of money, clearly they spent a lot of money on architectural services. But they did a lot of design work without, community input.
No, yeah, for sure, and I think ultimately. You know. There was a decision made early on in the design process to locate the building where they're proposing it, and. You know, I don't, we shouldn't take for granted that that's the foregone conclusion where the building is gonna go, because I haven't heard of. Outside of the view shed concept, which I think is not, it's not a strong enough argument for me for the building to inhabit the location they're proposing it to go. Even though I think it's an interesting concept, it doesn't offset the scale of the building, it just doesn't, it's not the give and take of where they're proposing the building and why, it's still not striking the balance of the overall size and lot coverage and, you know.
Yeah.
But that's just where I'm at, so so in terms of questions that we would want them to answer, I think, you know, maybe one of the questions is, you know, the original consult suggested a 5,000 square foot building, like why is it that you feel like you can't go any smaller than 7,500 square feet or whatever? You know, that could be one of the questions, and, you know, again, why does the building have to go where it's going? Why can't it go to Broadhead? Like, let's get some, you know, commit to some, you know, maybe they feel like they already have, but, you know, just for the record, commit to some answers, and, or, you know, maybe we might be convinced to finally consider it, I don't know. But I guess just to give them a fair shake to prepare for the next meeting, I think we should have those answers fully fleshed out.
I think that's strong. I actually been taking notes, so questions for HHS. Can you try to develop a concept where this building is on Broadhead? Number one, give us more detail on the archaeological sites or the cautions about Broadhead versus where they are now. Why does the visitor center have to be where it is? Your point, is the driveway and the North Front Street entrance really needed? Why is it 7,700 square feet? And maybe, I have not seen anything that said it should be 5,000, but a couple of people have said that.
It's true, you're right.
Okay. So any other questions we should be asking?
Well, maybe if they want to do the mock-up between now and next month, if they feel like that might help expedite things.
Mock-up, yeah.
You know, maybe they're, you know, if they're really confident and they feel very strongly that this is where the building has to be, this is what the size of the building has to be. If I was in their position, I would go ahead and do the mock-up. You know, and I think that would be probably the, you know, the fastest way to, you know, either, you know, if they feel confidently that the building has to be that size and where it is, they should go ahead and do a mock-up, because, you know, if they feel like that's the right size and location, that'll help their case. You know, people can react to it and say, oh, it's not that big, or, oh, you know what, it would be great here. I mean, you know, again, I think they seem pretty set on this design and this location. So I don't know why we should delay the mock-up any longer. And then maybe everybody could have something to react to for the public hearing.
Yeah, we could get photos
and get photos, and we could encourage people to go visit it, and then they could come back, you know, with like some kind of reaction to the mock-up.
And Shane, when you say mock-up, state?
Yeah, just like usually in the city, it's, you know, it's wooden stakes, tall wooden stakes, spray painted OSHA orange. And then you have, you know, like plastic, not like caution tape, but like red OSHA orange plastic tape.
Okay.
And you kind of just frame out the massing. It can be really simple. I mean, the massing of the building, although it's big, it's pretty simple. I mean, it's gonna be work involved to do it, but
right.
I mean, that's on every landmarks projects. If you're building something up on the roof of a landmarked house in the city, you do a mock-up out of the OSHA orange tape and wood, And, you know, an LPC commissioner comes out and they in person verify if it's visible from the street or not. I mean, if that's, you know, if that's what you have to prove, but that's very standard practice. And I think for a building this consequential, I mean, we should definitely do that.
I think encouraging that would be, I mean, every member of the public would appreciate that.
Yeah, no, I think it would be good for us too. I just want to make clear, are you imagining that these stakes go as high as, like, is it the whole mast or is it really a footprint?
I mean, I get at the very least the footprint. And then maybe some kind of indication of where the roof line is.
Like
Balloons.
balloons, yeah.
Yeah, they do the balloons, yeah, so you could stake it out with, you know, as tall stakes as you can get, and then from that point on, do balloons, and hopefully it's not too windy of a day.
Yeah.
You know, but, yeah, I think we're at a little bit of an impasse here, and I think that'll help just kind of, you know, either maybe it helps get people on board, or maybe it pushes, you know, I don't know, but I think either way, it'll offer some clarity to, you know, there's a lot of people, including myself, honestly, that it's hard to really envision the impact of the building, the size and the location, just from the drawings. And, you know, we look at drawings all the time, but even still, it's kind of tough to visualize.
Some of them suggest different things. There was one view from the patio that looked quite innocuous, like there were trees in it and
Yeah,
kind of looked,
Well, then you read the tree report and half of those trees are coming out, so.
no, I think this
Well,
was
then
accounted
Go
for.
from that direction.
Yeah, but anyway, let's, I'll pursue a memo that includes those things. And they'll have a whole month to do it. And, go from there.
yeah, I mean, can we require them to do it? I mean, I really feel strongly that I don't know, I mean, what do you guys think? I think it'll also just give more tangible, some kind of, it'll give something for the public to react to too. That's not just the drawings and the renderings, that's important.
I'm gonna use it, how about the term strongly recommend?
Yeah,
Yeah, and I'll give reasons.
yeah.
Okay. Yeah, okay. Let me think, I wanna get this memo pretty quickly. Ideally, I would send it out for your comments. Can everybody turn it around really quickly, like when you open it, just
Yeah,
get
yeah.
back to me?
That's not.
When are you gonna send it out?
Maybe tomorrow, I definitely won't have the energy tonight. Maybe tomorrow, Wednesday, kind of at the latest.
Okay, yeah, that's fine.
Okay, yeah, that's good. That way I'm not overstating anything that, which I hope I didn't do already, but. Okay, let's move on. It's late. We have a kind of big topic, which is the art show. Ellen, can you update us?
Yes, the art show is up and it's been up since May 5th. We have 64 pieces of artwork. Quite a few new artists. Everything looks good. Saturday night we'll coordinate with shopping and food preparation and things like that. Should we think about it as soon as I can for
Probably, yeah, for the reception. Yeah, could you do that?
Yes.
Okay, so that's an action item for tomorrow. Press release for reception. Yeah,
Because
that-
it's been published before it flies.
yeah, but it's a different thing. At the last meeting, Camilla, you had asked for some help moving numbers.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm happy to do that. That would be Friday, the 29th.
Yes.
I'm happy to do
Oh,
that.
thank you
That's
so much.
okay, so. Bottles, so I would just coordinate with you at your house and I'll just get them down there.
Thank you.
The other thing is, you know, we all forsook our stipends, and so our war chest, to say nothing of our budget's in really good shape, as you'll see. Do you want to cater more of this? You have so much on your plate and you,
Oh, I don't know how many things we can actually buy. It's also good quality and relatively, affordable, so I don't mind looking a few things and Sarah
I can make
volunteered
it
also.
I don't mind either. Last year I was kind of in a jam time-wise, but you can,
Cause usually we just buy, hummus and cheeses and maybe things like that, crackers and, drinks, fruits, vegetables. And then we have some baked goods, savory and sweet. Maybe some.
Well, think about it.
finger foods.
if you, feel like, I mean, this would be a year, you can see we're almost done with the fiscal year. We're 30% expended. I mean, we've never been this far below our budget. We're in dangerous territory, so we have to put you to work or buy some stuff.
How's that laptop?
I would like a sauna. So let's coordinate, Camilla, but if you think that there's catering or pre-baked, baked goods from other places, we do have the budget this year.
I think last year we kind of looked into having a cake made by a professional and it was quite expensive. It would have been a substantial percentage of our budget, so we kind of gave up on catering as such.
Yeah.
Mm.
We're also not, it's been the most lavish kind of reception. I mean, it doesn't have to be that every year.
Well, but
Excuse me.
this is also a special event.
It is,
Because of the Revolutionary Arts.
Okay,
Event series. So we always try to make it special.
it is
And
special.
make it
It really always is.
more.
We're in good shape for the judges.
Yes, we have all three judges.
Okay. And can they all be there on the day? or-
Yes,
Okay,
at least, right now.
Okay. great. Wonderful. Is there anything else you need from us?
How much is our budget exactly? Because last year was, we have 150.
Sky's the limit.
Kind of,
Oh, that's
yeah.
great.
I mean, I don't think we want to be egregious, but
No,
certainly at least that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because prices went up again.
Yeah.
It's even more expensive.
Well, I would say comfortably add $100 to that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
I'll try not to spend it all.
Stephen, anything cooking on Huguenots?
Something at 124, they are drawing closer to being finished with the renovations, the front porch railing and the back porch railings seem to have been replaced, and they did perfect work. They look very nice. I don't know when they're gonna rent out the 4 apartments yet, but it's coming right along. Otherwise, not much going on Huguenot Street. Utility work, they're cutting back trees. Kind of sloppy, but what do you expect?
They always are.
So right at Huguenot and Marbury, there's a catalpa that's like this, the power lines go right through it and the tree is just cut like fast. And it's catalpa, your dad is like catalpa taken out. Oh, yeah, oh, he did 20 and a half. I mean, you can't cut. It's gotta be more than 20 feet from the road, and it was 20 and a half
Oh
feet.
my God.
Oh,
So
perfect,
you
so
do it.
that worked, and it was right on our joint property, and we were glad to see it go. I mean, it's just good.
They're difficult trees.
Yeah, not an easy tree.
We lost both, but we got rid of one once. Okay.
It was Chris that did that, right?
Yeah.
He's very affordable.
And it does a very good job, and you've seen on Facebook, and he had shots of the trees, that tree coming down.
Oh, yeah, so he took out some trees from me too, and he did a good job.
What's his last name?
Chris Colombo, he's also getting a reputation as being a tree guy who will rescue cats, and he said the other day, he said, yeah, just yesterday, I was like an hour away, and I went to get a cat out of the tree, he doesn't. Genial, friendly guy, very good.
Great Hudson Valley started.
Okay.
Well, speaking of 124 Huguenot Street, I got an email from the owner. Way back in 21, they had a certificate of appropriateness for must have been some kind of exterior work, but what never got done was the painting. So I said, it's like for like, it's already been approved, you're good to go, but I wanted to report it at this meeting. So,
Yeah, I saw that one, 105, I was like.
yeah, it was, yeah,
I said, I don't know if I've got any records that far back.
yeah,
I don't know if I was on the commission back then,
I think you might have been, I don't, yeah.
back in Zoom meeting time, but yeah.
So the railroad siding project, this will probably be the last time I report anything, our track was stolen. Like, I think it was 4 or 5 various lengths of track was just stolen from where it was next to the rail trail. And I don't know exactly when it happened, I discovered it, I don't know, 3 weeks ago.
Oh, my God.
Confirmed with somebody else, and so that's that. I'm actually gonna make a police report.
Yeah. That must, I mean, it's not been easy to
No,
take it, throw in the back of the road.
one of them was long with a full piece, I don't know if it was a full 30, but a 30-foot piece of rail is like 550 pounds, so like you need a big truck here. You know, so guys, we'll probably never see again, but I'm sorry because that, although it was just tiptoeing along and maybe wasn't gonna happen anyway, it seemed like a good idea.
Yeah.
One of those things. No update on village code changes, haven't had time to think about it. The 250th planning is, the update is that it's up and going, and I actually brought for everyone souvenirs, and I think I've done one for everybody at this. And I think comfortably 2 of these. And they're both basically just QR code delivery vehicles. But it's a big program, it's kind of a cool thing. And Bill Rhodes' walking tour I thought was very good, but very wet. It was Saturday, rain or shine, and it did rain. So not perfect conditions.
But still lots of people.
It was full. Like we bargained on 20, we were like 23. So people really did come out. Made me think that, you know, we nominally sponsored that. Wouldn't it be nice to see if Bill would be willing periodically to just do that with a couple of houses in depth, just like little half-hour things? Because he was so knowledgeable. I mean,
Or even a slideshow or something.
slideshow, yeah.
With them, but with nothing.
Yeah. That's, I think, slightly what I'm gonna be doing on June 6th. John Orfitelli and I are gonna present on 25 years of preservation in New Paltz. And it's a success from my point, or my part of it is success, but also what's been lost, and, you know, kind of a cautionary tale about what happens when you don't preserve. I'll let you, well, it's part of the program, and I'll certainly send it out at some point. Oh, that's item 8. So June 6th, Orfitelli and I believe that's at I think it's at 10 a.m. I can tell you really quickly. I think. But if you're around and want to hear kind of the history of what we've been doing.
What day is that?
Saturday, the 6th of June at Elting. I'm just looking at what time. I'll send out a reminder, but it is Saturday, June 6th. At no, I don't have it in this phone. I'm pretty sure it's at 10 o'clock. Budget update. As I said, the budget's in great shape. We're really in the last days of the budget. Is there anything anybody needs or wants us to buy? Sarah, you're good?
Yeah, I think we're good.
Okay. So that covers 10 as well. There's the cybersecurity webinar on June 23rd. Just a reminder, that's a new requirement on us. So we have workplace violence, sexual harassment, cybersecurity. Sorry, didn't make these rules.
Excuse me, you're on the Elton calendar from 10 to 11:30.
Yeah, great, thanks, Steve. That's the agenda, other than executive session. Does anybody have anything that we should? Okay. Is there a motion to close the meeting, go into executive session, and then end with that?
I move we go into executive session.
Second by Shane. All those in favor? Okay.